but it's money that you don't have to pay back. Like at the intersection, it's like instead of the reams of paperwork, it's the hours that you're going to spend online, posting on Facebook and sending out emails in order to get that way. And then the other source of crowdfunding, which is a type of alternative financing, are online peer-to-peer lending sites like Lending Club and Prosper. Those are the two biggest ones, where basically you can go online and say, hi, I'm Anthony, I'm starting a farm, I need $10,000. I'll submit some information, they'll run my credit. And basically, any one of you could go on Lending Club and go through a bunch of listings of loans and say, Anthony, I want to lend money to a farm. I'll lend $50 to Anthony. And then I get 200 people that lend me $50, and then I have my $10,000. The upside is that it's relatively easy to get money through that. The downside is that it's pretty expensive, or relatively expensive. So I've seen people borrow at like 10%, 12%, 18% through Lending Club and Prosper. So I'm going to put out that as like, would any of you put money in a credit card to start your farm?
Well, from time to time with my nonprofit, we did have to run things through a credit card because of the grant reimbursement cycles, and sometimes that ran into not being able to pay the credit card on time.
I probably would tend not to because the interest rate is horrific. And it would end up, you're also like, really, if anything goes wrong there with their credit, you really have no out on. You are damaged, and you're basically, you're done. The best thing to do is run for cover. So I would say that probably credit card is not an option, given that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely don't recommend people using their credit cards as a first or second choice, but I think there are situations, especially from a cash flow perspective, where they can be really useful. And the thing I would recommend about credit cards is like, know what you're getting yourself into and manage it really well. Pay it off as quickly as you can. Watch out for the interest rate and the fees, et cetera, et cetera. But my point of bringing credit cards is that Lending Club and Prosper is, from a price perspective, not going to be a whole lot different than borrowing a credit card. So they're both kind of relatively fast, relatively easy, expensive ways to borrow money.
Yeah. After the experience, we are at this point, we are on the economic situation about money and lending and all that. We are on the side on preference those use the banks, the credits, and nothing like that because we have a very hard situation, especially migrant families. They used to take your whole money back. It's like they make money on the way. So we are more open, do a little efforts to put some money or find money in other ways.
Absolutely.
If we are growing little by little, but they are steps very, with good foundation is better than the other.
Right, absolutely. So you're going to savings your own money bucket of things.
Right now we use a rototiller, and we are doing the whole work with the rototiller, and we pay for that $1,000, and it's working really good.
Right.
See, we don't need credit cards, we don't need nothing from the bank.
That's great.
So, the people is offering the time to do the work, and it's money too. Because,
absolutely.
I put to the house everything there. So that is our money right there.
Right. Exactly.
But, we're going to use to start growing little by little, but we prepare that by then.
Right.
Lending money from some companies or institutions.
Gotcha. Okay. So the last bucket is nonprofit and government agencies. So FarmLink is a nonprofit, Farm Service Agency is a government agency. Who's not familiar with Farm Service Agency? Okay. So Farm Service Agency is a permanent USDA. USDA is federal government. And USDA supports agriculture, generally speaking. Farmers is one of the populations that get support from USDA. Farm Service Agency, one of the things that they do is lend money to farmers. And so there's local FSA offices all over the state, and they have loan officers in their offices that will lend money. And so FarmLink and FSA, the things that they have in common is they're both mission-driven lenders. It's FarmLink is a nonprofit, FSA is government work, they're kind of trying to support farmers. And so there's not a profit motive in there, whereas the bank, they're trying to make money. And generally speaking, we talked about large financial institutions like banks, credit unions, farm credit, etc. They work really well for large established farms. Farm Service Agency and FarmLink are around to support smaller farmers, folks that don't have access to credit. Farm Service Agency used to say that they were the lender of last resort, and now they say they're the lender of first opportunity. Same thing. But they're basically working with folks that have trouble access credit elsewhere. And for example, FSA, what's written into their charter is that you need to be declined somewhere else before you can actually go to FSA. So now you guys understand the landscape of options. What do you think it takes to qualify for a loan? What do you think it would take to get a loan?
A good business plan, or I would say would probably be a good persuader that you know what you're doing and will put the money to good use as opposed to mismanage it.
And what would, I want to turn the question around. So if you had the money to lend, and you were, if I came to you and said, I want to borrow $50,000 to start my farm. If I gave you a business plan, what would you look for in that business plan? Anyone can answer this question.
If I'm going to lend you my money, I'm probably not going to lend you my money.
Why?
Unless you give me a compelling, overwhelming case that I know I'm going to get it back, okay? And the saying is that if you don't lend anything that you don't expect to get back, or to lend things only that you can afford to give away, as opposed to, expecting it back. So
I've just met you today. I've never met you before. What can I do to demonstrate to you that I'm going to be able to pay back this $50,000 that I borrowed from you?
I would probably...
Keep in mind, this is the exact situation that all of you will face.
I would probably
Walking into a bank, they have no idea who you are, or going to FSA or whatever it is.
But it's a way that you make money, for example, how much money you make on your regular work.
First thing is collateral.
If you make $500 a week, $600 a week, they are, so you have a way to pay me back, monthly payments from your work. So I can lend to you this money for you can start your business, on the side that you work.
Right, so collateral, outside income, how much money you're making, prove that you can pay that.
They want to make sure you also make money to give the money back to them.
But I have to answer, maybe what you're getting at is your character. Ultimately, at the end of the decision, your character is in front of everything else, weighing heavily as to whether I have faith in you or not.
All I have done is given you a piece of paper with my name, my social security number, my business plan. How are you going to assess my character? What are you going to look for in that?
History record.
It's like a resume, so I would look at it as a resume. Can you do?
Experience? What kind of experience would you look for?
Maybe hands-on experience, or maybe business experience that might not be related. Just you have some idea of budgeting and forecasting what is going to happen.
What if I've never farmed before? What do you think? Just lend me money to start farming?
What's your idea? What's your plan? What are you going to do and how do you intend it?
I'm going to do a 10-acre organic diversified vegetable row crop operation.
If you've never done it, I'm going to ask who your team is. I'm going to want to know who you're working with, and want to know their professional backgrounds and their expertise.
Good questions.
How do you expect to succeed? You have the money in hands.
I'm going to grow it. I'm going to sell it.
So you have established
We all.
So is that
Show established markets. Okay.
I'm sorry?
His point was this question was, do I have established markets? Yeah, I'm going to sell at Santa Rosa, Sebastopol, and Sonoma Farm markets.
I'm going to want you to understand your competition and to be versed in your competition and persuade me why you have an opportunity that the competition is not already taking advantage of or won't squeeze you out of.
Yeah, do that. I'm growing broccoli and cauliflower and beets. There's nothing doing that. But I'm going to grow really good ones.
Precisely.
They're going to be really tasty.
It's hard to do.
I
It's
guess-
hard to demonstrate. That's a difficult thing to demonstrate. So,
Given what you've said, probably one of my questions or the deciding factors to let my money go to you is, have you worked with a small business development center so that I really know that you're versed in the objective of what you're trying to do with the money as opposed to trying to get the money itself. So I think that I would look for that. What homework have you done? Where's your basis.
What's the homework that you would want me to
Go to the small business, work with the small business development center on the viability of your idea, on the viability of the end plan. And will there be a market for chulapas at the end of the day or the end of the period?
I'm gonna write the most beautiful business plan you've ever seen that says there will be a market for, I don't even know what you just said, but whatever that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Broccoli.
Broccoli.
Well,
How can I prove that to you?
yeah, it's tough. I would probably want to really know about a person's business success in the past. I would want a sense of a track record of a person's ability to be fluid and responsive and, I would probably have a very hard time giving money to somebody who has not run a profitable business for at least 8 years of their previous life. That would just be, I would just have.
Tough cookie.
I would have to.
So you are saying 10 acres too.
Yeah, so if you, I wouldn't care if you run another business, you could have been a successful bookseller, you could have owned a Chipotle franchise, just something that says, I understand profit and loss, and, that would be more interesting to me, if you were sole proprietorship and was going into that,
So you have the suspense. How would you? What is your business? Tell me, what is
It's
your
the same questions as lending is not rocket science. I mean, if you think about it from the perspective of if the money were mine, what would I need to know? That's what we do. I want to know that you have the experience, you have relevant experience, and you think you guys have touched on this. Like, if I'm going to look at lending to a farm, it's like, we don't lend anyone who's never farmed before. If you have not worked on a farm or run your own farm before, we're going to tell you to go get some farming experience. Prove to us that you can grow stuff, then maybe we'll look at it. So there's the experience, and then beyond that, just because someone's worked in the field for the last 10 years doesn't mean that they can run a business. So we're going to look for experience that's relative to, can you grow it, and then can you sell it, and can you manage the other parts of the business, right? And running another business previously may not prove that you can grow stuff, but may improve some of these other pieces, right? So we're going to look at your experience, and then we're going to look at what is your plan, how can you pay us back? Show me that you're going to have the money to pay us back. And you're going to tell me that, you're going to grow X, and you're going to sell it at Y, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to ask you how and why, what homework have you done? If you tell me that, I mentioned, I'm going to sell at the Santa Rosa, Sebastopol, and Sonoma Farmers Markets. I'm going to ask, have you talked to the market managers? Who are you?
You had a permission already for your business?
Right, exactly. Right.
License and everything?
Right, exactly. I'm going to ask that. I'm going to ask you, what's your competition at the farmers markets? I'm growing broccoli and cauliflower. Anyone else selling broccoli and cauliflower at the farmers markets? Probably.
yes.
Maybe there's no organic ones, and I'm going to grow organically. That might be differentiation. But whatever it is, you're going to have a plan, and I'm going to poke a bunch of holes in it, or try to poke a bunch of holes in it too. So you prove to me that if you think you're going to sell $100,000 worth of produce in that first year, you're going to prove how you're going to get there. And then on top of your experience and demonstrating the ability to pay it back, then we're also going to look at have you looked, what have you done with other debt in the past? I think you mentioned character. And so we're going to look at your credit history, and we're going to say when we're running credit reports, if you've borrowed money from on credit cards, and you've taken out a car loan, you've taken a student loan, have you paid those back? And if you paid all of those things back,
And then
that's
they're
it.
going to tell you, okay, we're going to borrow to you $30,000, you're going to give us $90,000.
Well, actually, he's negotiating. He wants an interest rate that is payable, so.
They want more money than the money that they borrow to you.
That's right. There may be right, and so all of you, I think your point is that you should be careful about whatever the deal is that you're getting. If someone wants to, it's just getting yes is not enough. It's yes on what terms? What's the interest rate? Do you need all the money they want to lend you? What are the fees? When do I have to pay it back? So we're going back. So it's experience. It's the ability to repay, and we're going to look at have you paid other people back in the past. And there's lots of ways to do that. Credit history is one. Reference is another. One thing that we do with a lot of people, folks that have no credit history at all, we'll look at, we'll get a reference from the landlord, we'll get a reference on cell phones and utility bills. We just want to know that you can manage money and pay the obligations that you have. Those are the primary things that FarmLink looks at. If you can show that you have enough experience to be successful, it can show that you're going to be successful with this, and you can show a plan that shows that you're going to be able to pay us back, and you can demonstrate that you've been able to pay other people back in the past, that is a very good formula for success to be able to qualify for a loan. Then we're also going to look at, we'll look at collateral. We've like plenty of $10,000, $25,000 loans without collateral. But if you happen to own a couple tractors that's worth $15,000, then that obviously doesn't hurt that you have that, right? And it becomes more important when you're looking at larger amounts of money. So you want to borrow $10,000 unsecured, not really a problem. You want to borrow $100,000, then I think so. It's let me take it back. It's experience, demonstrate that you can pay us back. Have you paid other people back in the past? And what's your plan B? What are you going to do if you only grow 100 broccoli instead of 200 broccoli? When the weather sucks and it's a non-normal year, what are you going to do? Right? It could be crop insurance, it could be savings, it could be another job, it could be I have a tractor that I could sell to pay you back, whatever it might be. So there's different ways to get at that. But that's going to go back to your question. That's how we look at it.
So for someone who does not have experience, it's not an automatic out, is it? Or is it pretty much virtually not?
If you have no farming experience, like you've never worked on a farm before, and you're going to either FSA or FarmLink, it's no.
Yeah.
No one will lend you money for a farm.
And so would you say that programs such as this, Agripreneurs, which is training and preparing you and getting you out there, is it at least one step in the direction toward qualifying?
I would, yes, and I'd rather take someone that has worked on a farm, meaningful experience on a farm, that has never gone to a class like this, is going to be more likely to get a loan than someone that's only gone to a class.
Yes, for obvious reasons, yes.
So the experience is more important. This helps, absolutely, but the experience is. Kendra, you're back for a second time. You must have other questions.
Did you cover, so FSA or FarmLink are kind of, which buckets do which sources go to? Did you say that right?
Yeah, it's, I would say that, a couple things. Beginning farmers, I would say, you talk to both. FSA, I may or may not mention this, they require that you get declined by somebody else before they'll consider a loan application. So before you go to FSA for a loan, you have to talk to someone else. It doesn't have to be FarmLink, it could be Wells Fargo, but you have to talk to somebody else. We're both around to support beginning farmers. I mean, it's kind of like technically to the letter of the law, the Farm Service Agency is supposed to work with folks that can't get loans elsewhere. Practically speaking, I mean, if FSA does loans that FarmLink would make too, and that's okay. I mean, we're all about farmers getting access to capital, so if they get it from us, they get it from FSA, they get it from somebody else.
They just need one denial, they don't need to show that they've been denied.
Yeah.
Places,
Yeah.
you go to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you go to FSA, like in around here, like they may tell you very specifically, like go to FarmLink. If you can't go to FarmLink, then come back to us.
Right.
So.
What is FarmLink, but it's lending money? I'm just interested in where you find your money.
FarmLink borrows money from banks, foundations, and USDA through a separate, not through FSA, but through a separate program, and then we re-lend that out directly to farmers.
Do you ever get grants for lending, since that you are making the income from interest yourselves as an income source, or?
So we earn interest in fee income from the loans that we make. But it's not very much. I mean, so you make a $10,000 loan, and so we earn $200 on a loan fee, and then say it's an operating loan that's out for 6 months. That's $350. So we're making $550 on $10,000 loan. It's going to take us a couple dozen hours of work to do, and plus all the overhead and blah blah blah, plus the cost of capital. So we don't make If we were a business, we would lose money on every loan.
Yeah, this is a service.
Right? So we get grants to pay for the staff time and all the overhead to be able to offer the service.
That makes sense, so you're supporting that part.